This is True Voice Unfiltered, the podcast where raw truth meets real transformation. I'm your host, Daria Anne, ghostwriter, content strategist, and holistic health warrior. No, I'm not a doctor, nurse, nutritionist, or any kind of medical professional, and this show does not dispense medical advice. I'm just an informed patient sharing what I've learned on my own healing journey. I also interview accomplished authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and functional medicine practitioners who are transforming lives. If you're ready to break free from the sick care system, reclaim your health, and transform your life, you're in the right place. Let's get unfiltered. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of True Voice Unfiltered. I have another fabulous guest lined up today who will be talking about plant-based healing methods and solutions. I have never heard of this plant before, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but I believe it's called Kratom. I could be wrong. I'm going to ask my guest, Melody Woolf, for the correct pronunciation. But she has a fascinating story. And of course, this natural plant-based remedy is being rejected by the FDA and all of the conventional medical outlets out there. I believe that we as American citizens have the right to informed consent. We have the right to use products once informed about them and their efficacy and their safety. And as we know from the past 6 years, a lot of safe and effective alternatives to the intervention they were pushing were deemed, what shall we say, horse paste in one case, horse paste, deemed ineffective, unsafe. They did everything they could to stop people from using alternatives for healing. So today we're going to talk to a very inspiring woman named Melody Woolf. She is a seasoned professional in the botanical sector with over 11 years of experience dedicated to advancing consumer rights and shaping transparent legislation. Her career is built on a foundation of advocating for access to safe plant-based solutions, with a deep focus on botanical policy and the complex regulatory frameworks that govern the industry. Melody serves as a bridge between the industry and the government, frequently collaborating with policymakers, industry leaders, and scientific experts to ensure that legislative advocacy is rooted in evidence. A significant portion of her mission involves defending medical choice and championing government accountability. In addition to her policy work, Melody is a vocal advocate against social media censorship, which we saw a lot of that, didn't we? She works to address digital restrictions that prevent the public from participating in legislative processes, arguing that the transparent, evidence-based policies are essential to protecting both public health and individual freedom. Her unique perspective combines technical, regulatory knowledge with a passion for protecting the rights of consumers to make informed choices about their wellness. She has 11 plus years of experience specializing in the botanicals and natural products sector. She's an expert in botanical policy, regulatory frameworks, and legislative advocacy. Her core mission is focused on defending medical choice, consumer rights, and access to plant-based solutions. Melody's key issue is that she actively addresses social media censorship as a barrier to legislative participation and public health discourse. She regularly engages with policymakers and scientific experts to promote evidence-based legislation. Now, Melody is also a chronic pain survivor who has spent over a decade advocating for safe plant-based medicine. From testifying at state legislatures to sharing the stage with the FDA commissioner, she is leading the national conversation on distinguishing natural kratom leaf from synthetic concentrates. Isn't that always the way? They always want us to go with synthetics. Her mission is simple: protect consumer rights and ensure access to safe, natural alternatives. So without further ado, let's go talk to Melody Woolf. So Melody Woolf, welcome to True Voice Unfiltered. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So Melody, you have an incredible personal story of overcoming a significant health challenge. So before we go any further, I really want you to tell us in your own words about that and how you found a natural plant-based solution.
Somewhere just before I turned 40, I started having pain issues, and the first indicator was I couldn't hold my husband's hand without it hurting. So that's the first thing that sent me to the doctor.
Right.
And then it just kept getting worse and worse. I've been to the Cleveland Clinic. I've been with the University of Michigan rheumatology specialist and the person in charge of the department, and nobody could help me. And eventually, I ended up bedridden. My kids were all in elementary school at the time. And it's
Oh gosh,
very hard on them. And
terrible.
our home was dismal. It was dismal. And that's probably a little bit of sugarcoating it too.
Wow.
And I know my family probably would not prefer that I had to say all about this, but they're on board with me taking it. The only regret they have is that I didn't find it sooner because I became bedridden like when my completely bedridden when my youngest was about second grade.
Oh my.
And
So you had children in elementary school,
yeah,
and this is okay.
right. And then I didn't find it until he was, a junior or senior in high school. So I missed everything. And so did he.
Wow.
My two kids, they at least got me for some of the time, but he hardly got me at all. Um, I was prescribed up to 11 medications from one doctor all at the same time.
Gosh.
Among them being fentanyl, the highest. I think they're measured in mcgs, the highest patch, and then they would
Gosh.
rotate it with Dilaudid. And then when I was told him it was making me sick, he gave me some medication so that I could keep the medication down.
Typical. Yeah, that's our allopathic model for sure.
And so I would research in the times that I was lucid, and the fentanyl made me mean. And, I
Ah,
don't want another family to go through this. I mean, I feel lucky that my kids still talk to me. I,
my
I
goodness.
because it was that bad. I found Kratom, and instantly, just by getting out of bed, because I was bedridden, I gained so much weight. And when you're bedridden, food's kind of the only enjoyment you can get.
Right.
So I lost about 40 pounds. It was probably about 6 months just from getting out of bed and being active again in life, including going for 15-mile bike rides. And so
Amazing.
my life really became really great then. Fast forward to 2022. It was during COVID. My daughter and son in law's child care provider shut down, and there's no place to go because it's COVID. There's nowhere to go. So they called me up on the phone and said, "Would you like to move across the state and move in with for a year?" I did not have to ask my husband. Don't you need to ask Dad? I'll be there. And so I
Awesome.
babysat her, and I was her full time caregiver for a year. My granddaughter Aria was. Um, and then fast forward to last summer, and I took care of her again for another 4 months because they had like a 5-figure home repair bill. And
My goodness.
and childcare is $1,500 a month, and that's for a different discussion.
Right.
So I was able to save them $6,000, about a third of the price for their repair. The very zoo that my kids, the Detroit Zoo that they pushed me around in a walker, when Aria was an infant, I pushed her around in a stroller. And this past summer, I spent the entire summer chasing her around the zoo every Friday, the library every Monday, and then between those times, every splash pad and park within
Aw,
it's
amazing. Oh my God, that gives me the chills. So, Melanie, I want to go back though. So, how did you discover kratom? And explain what that is, if you will. What kratom is, how you found it, and also I'm curious, like how long, like when you started taking it, how quick was your turnaround? Curious.
okay. I found it through a pain group on Facebook, and I'm so thankful that someone posted about the science. And so then I started researching during my lucid moments,
Mm,
and I would research.
sure.
Finally, I decided to take it. I asked my doctor about it, and he said, "I've heard some great things about that." And his quote, "Give it a whirl." And
Well, that's good to hear that he was open-minded enough for
yeah,
that. Yeah.
well, he saw that I wasn't in very good shape with the way, for whatever reason, the traditional medicines haven't helped.
Yeah.
So he was seeing that this woman doesn't have a very high quality life. I'm going to let her try something, that might
Yeah.
improve her life. And I've been taking it ever since. February is my 12-year anniversary, which I've been taking it daily for about 12 now.
And what does this involve? Can you explain like what the delivery method is and how is it a liquid? Is it something you rub on your skin? Like how do you take it?
I take it by just taking the plain powder and mixing into hot water and then drinking it as fast as I can because it tastes awful, awful, awful. And then I would say it starts to help within about 20 minutes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
sure I still have everything that's caused all my pain. I still have it all and then some because as I've gotten older, more things have been added to the list of things that are painful for me.
Yeah. Now, can you describe the pain? Was this sort of like the pain, like arthritis? Was it sharp pain? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I want people to understand, like, who might be listening, if
Right.
they're thinking about their own symptoms, like, wow, this might be able to help me.
Fibromyalgia was the main thing that sent me to the doctor. It's the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
body pain. And there are many, many, many symptoms, and it varies from person to person. And some of it is your nerve pain, and that's a really hard pain for doctors to treat. And that's the pain that diabetics experience the most is that nerve pain. And so I experienced that. And now with Kratom, it relieves about half of my nerve pain, which is why I'm still in a daily 2 to 4, but I
Okay.
could be 8 to 10. But so Kratom relieves a lot of it, but it isn't a cure. Um, and then it relieves I have a torn rotator cuff. It's chronic. I've been working with it and strengthening the muscles around. It's a 2-inch tear. I have spinal stenosis. I have a frayed meniscus, arthritis because I'm 61 years old, and just everything is starting to hurt all over.
Yeah.
But that nerve pain, it's really hard to take. I mean, imagine if it was a low pain if you had a headache for 2 months. It drives
Yeah.
you crazy.
Crazy.
Been in pain for over 20 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
And unfortunately, I think it's a common problem, which is why I wanted to ask you about that. So you found Kratom. And then did you work with anybody? Like when you ordered it, did
uh,
anybody kind of help you figure out like the
well,
dosage or anything like that?
not at that time. I'm so glad that we've come so far since then. Um, it was kind of brand new and it wasn't regulated yet. I'm thankful that it's beginning to be regulated. That's a good thing. And so it was kind of like you're on your own. And it just varies from person to person. I'm so glad that the KCPA, the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, gets rid of some of those uncertain things that we all experienced, like about 10 plus years ago.
That's excellent. So I know that there's a lot of conflicting information out there about Kratom, and I mentioned the 7OH products. And I want to talk about or ask you if you could explain the difference between natural leaf and synthetic hyperconcentrates. Because it seems to me that the powers that be always want us to use a synthetic version of something versus because I'm on bioidentical hormones, including thyroid replacement, which
Oh,
has been super helpful for me. It's optimized my thyroid. But I know, I mean, last year the FDA started cracking down on it. I'm not sure where that stands now, but can you explain all that and like just why this is so critical, knowing this distinction for consumers?
I happened to have participated in their press conference. I spoke on their stage that they invited me to talk about it. 7OH can occur in minuscule amounts to be amounts that are insignificant. It's not really in the plant. It occurs during the drying process sometimes. And so what people do, unscrupulous people just looking to make a buck, they take that tiny bit of 7OH and then they put it through a chemical process. And that so that you just have a full 7OH product. And that needs to be off the shelves ASAP. And that's what I spoke at the HHS press briefing. They asked me to talk about the benefits of Kratom and then to distinguish it from 7OH. 7OH is kind of leading people back to the same problem that maybe they took Kratom for, because
Oh, no.
for pain, and it is not safe. I don't have the regulatory expertise to know where it belongs or the science, but I do know that it does not belong on the retail shelves. I do know that.
So are these like who's manufacturing these and are they're selling these synthetic versions
Right.
in like pharmacies, are you saying like major
No,
chains or
no, excuse me. It's sold at smoke shops.
okay.
It's at gas stations. Um, they have big companies making 7OH just like you would have anybody making something at all. It's really dangerous and it needs to be off. the shelves.
Yeah.
I went to a smoke shop because I like to make sure that my area smoke shops have it behind the counter, creating behind the counter. There's an obvious age gate. There aren't any kids in there. Just want to keep an eye on things.
Yeah.
Where is your Kratom at? They handed me 708. They didn't know that there was a difference between Kratom and 708.
Oh my gosh.
When I
Yeah.
education with the clerk, he said, "I've been wondering because I'm telling you, people are spending 100, a couple $100 a week on 7OH, and I thought it was something different about it."
Jeez.
Yeah, so
This
that's the
reminds me, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but years ago when like cannabis oil, like when they were the what it is, the THC versus the oil, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of all of that, like
um,
the confusion between those two products.
sorry.
So what was it like though when you were at this HHS and FDA press conference with Marty Makary and RFK? What was it like to bring the patient perspective there? And what's happening? Do you feel like people are listening, or making progress?
I was so glad to make the distinction because, like you said, the smoke shop clerk, he handed me 7OH when I didn't ask for it. I said Kratom, I
Yeah.
say, or any other products. I said Kratom, nothing else. And it was very good to have to make that clear distinction. And so now we have some of the science to back it up that these issues, a lot of them are 7OH because, and I will take the words of Dr. Christopher McCurdy at a congressional briefing that he and I both spoke at. It is legal morphine, 7OHs.
Oh,
It
okay.
is a
Wow.
full agonist, and the authorities at this time, the press conference had not happened, but he was probably the first one to alert the authorities of the dangers on it. And I was just so proud to be up there. 'Cause remember, my kids had a bedridden mom.
Yeah.
I did not give my kids hardly anything to be proud of their mom.
Ah.
It was I was just so moved that they could see me walk on that stage with, all the flags behind me and the press briefing stage. And they had a mom that they could be proud of now. And that
Yeah.
is what meant the most to me.
Well, the thing that's so inspiring is you didn't give up. And, you said you were on Facebook and you were doing your research and trying to find alternatives. And then you found one and gave it a try. I mean, I really admire that. And I've been through a similar path, not quite as, not chronic pain, but even with Hashimoto's,
Mm,
trying to get to the right functional medicine thyroid specialist to help me. So I really admire you for not giving up. And I think that's going to be inspiring for listeners who are also dealing with chronic pain issues right now.
you are your best advocate.
Yeah.
You have to be, get yourself informed. And who knows, maybe it might not be kratom that somebody comes across with their researching. Maybe they'll find something else that could help them.
Yeah, and I mean, it really is true. You can't give up, and you have to be your own advocate. And there's limitations to conventional medicine. I'll just say, when you were talking earlier about like, oh, I was having a reaction, so the doctor gave me something to help me with the reaction. It reminds me of those pharmaceutical commercials where it's like they're promoting a prescription to
Mhm.
counteract the effects of another prescription. Like it's crazy to me. And then they go through the whole litany of side effects, during the commercial, and you start thinking, I'd rather just deal with the problem. I mean, the cure, quote unquote, sounds worse than the problem.
Well, there are
No.
75 million chronic pain patients in the United States, and we need options.
Yeah.
Everything should be in the toolbox because we are all so different.
Y
And so that means somebody's like a 1 in 6 chance of becoming a chronic pain patient. You're only one diagnosis or one accident away, and now your life has changed forever. So you know people in your life that are chronic pain patients, and we need to learn more about these things and to keep them available for patients.
Well, and I suspect that it's very lucrative for certain interests. I'll just put it that, and maybe that's where the resistance comes from. And I think, over the last 6 years, we saw that, they wanted people to take a certain intervention when there were other options available, and they were, like, demonizing them. Horse paste, ivermectin was horse paste. The monoclonal antibodies, the government took those away, or they tried to limit them. And so it's just this constant, I feel like there's this constant pushback, and people have to get involved, especially patients, in demanding change.
Yeah, it has to come because, chronic pain patients, not all of them, are typically undertreated now and
God.
really need some options on the table because their life is just going before their like mine was. My life was just
Yeah.
passing before my eyes and I wasn't a participant or anything in my life.
Do you feel like, I mean, most doctors are not really understanding like these type of patients, or they're not really, or they're gaslighting them? Like, what's really going on? Like, they can't find solutions.
I just think that they have to follow certain procedures that are given to them a lot of times by people
Yeah.
that aren't doctors. And one of the problems with the Kratom issue has been the media. Like,
Yeah.
FDA commissioner cannot have been clearer that they are not focusing on natural Kratom. And then he went on CNN and said the difference between Kratom and 708 regarding public health is night and day. But you will see a media report, Kratom and Fed crosshairs. And then you look at the article and it's about 708.
So it's infuriating. They twist everything. It's infuriating.
That's been causing them, that's been our main problem is getting your message. That's why I am so thankful to you that you're giving me this platform that is getting the message out there.
Absolutely. Well, like, based on my own story, I'm all about alternatives and finding solutions that work for, like you said, it's very individualized. That's one thing I learned about functional medicine. It's not a one size fits all. And the same thing here. It's a different, maybe it's a different combination of kratom for people. It
Mhm.
might be other solutions involved. It might be a combination of things. And we have the rights as human beings and American citizens, I think, to pursue every avenue. And it's not right that anyone would confuse the issue, and the media, I can't even, of course they would. They just have their own agenda.
Yeah.
And I just ask you about social media because I know that's something, the social media censorship, that's something that you've been fighting back against.
Yes, it is. Especially on Facebook. Facebook has no problem with Kratom or 708 paid ads. No
Of
problem.
course. Yeah.
Just talk about the science. You can get your I've lost a couple profiles that way.
Yeah.
You just for posting the science because in the science they said that kratom was beneficial for this, and I made sure to have everything in quotes. And often I'm quoting peer-reviewed papers by the National Institute of Health and published in the Library of Medicine.
Oh my gosh.
People like my husband got a Facebook violation just for posting kratom has helped my wife. Period. That's it.
It's insane.
So that
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big thing. At least if they weren't allowing any ads, you could not like it, but they're being consistent. They're not even being consistent. And that's
Yeah. And now,
the problem.
since Facebook, are all the social media platforms, are there any others that have done the same thing, like X, which is supposedly free speech now, but I don't really believe that. But yeah.
So, and LinkedIn, I only one time had one post that they balked about, and that was like several years ago.
Okay.
And so I love LinkedIn, and anybody out there, please come follow me on LinkedIn. I have really science there. That's the reason I put that plug in there. And people can read it and decide if this it gives them a different line of inquiry about their suffering. Gives
Yeah.
something and even if you not even if it's something isn't for you, just doing the research on your own, I mean that made me feel empowered even before I found Kratom. Like I wasn't well, actually I was taking it lying down. But then I was at I was taking it lying down. I was just that just gave me a sense of empowerment that I was not just letting everybody decide my fate for me.
Right. I think that's so important for patients today, and especially because there are so many people dealing with chronic pain, is to know that there's hope and there's a real solution. And I'm
Mm.
going to put everything in the show notes, by the way, your LinkedIn profile, places where people can find you. Where can people, is there a specific place they should go to if they want to look into Kratom? Like if they perhaps want to order it and start using it, is that something people can do right now? Or,
To an extent, what I do is I like do a deep dive into any vendor I'm thinking about using. I get their lab reports, make sure that they're within, and then I go and I research the lab to make sure that they are not some fly by night lab. And this is not a plug for anything. I know that the American Crime Association they have a list of vendors that are compliant with safety standards, but It's just that there's one point is I'm saying nothing about the product, just that what's on the label is what's in the package, and that has gone through testing for heavy metals and salmonella, and all of the machinery has been inspected and everything like that on the American Crime Association's page. But like I say, it's just about kind of like what the FDA does for supplements, which by the way, FDA does not approve any supplements for medical use. And that's often used as a reason why we should ban kratom because it's not approved. But the FDA, they make sure that what's on the labels, what's on the package, and these
Yeah.
producers are doing the same thing.
Excellent. So people could follow you on LinkedIn too if they want to get all this information. That's wonderful. So I know that there's legislation going on in every state. Like, what do you think the future holds for kratom?
There's a lot of legislation, and in my opinion, because of the media, there's a lot of negative legislation. For example, in Ohio, the governor wanted to ban kratom and 7-OH. 7-OH I had no problem with. You have to ban it. And kratom and HHS Secretary RFK intervened and said, don't ban it. They were reacting to the headlines that I talked to you about, that the media,
Right.
but they were
Twisted.
right. And so then what we have to do is we have to go back and educate these people.
Yeah.
I really can't say. Hopefully, my state of Michigan will pass the KCP this year, and I'm working on that. 19 states have passed, I think 20 now. I think 20 states now passed the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. And we really need a federal one because a lot of these are, it's not their fault. They're left in limbo, not knowing what to do. And the federal
Right.
would just come out and do it, then we would be in a much better position.
Yeah. So there's 20 states right now that have basically approved it. And okay. Well,
Yeah. Just that it's being tested and there's labeling requirements. There's an age gate, which is now usually 21, though a few states have 18. And that there are, there are reasonable guardrails. And that's what the industry's been asking for. And it's just so nice to see the government getting on board. I just got back from the Kratom Scientific Symposium for a week at the University of Florida Research Center. Dr. Nora Volko, the NIDA director, National Institute of Drug Abuse, she was our keynote speaker. She has an extremely favorable view of kratom. And there were scientists and regulators from every agency, any regulating agency, and from around the world. And no one talked about any ban. No one talked, we think there should be a sales ban if people want to order. No one said anything about a ban. And so it's just nice to see them getting on board now.
yeah, that's really hopeful. And you don't have to comment on this. I'm just going to say that there's a age-old expression that says, "Follow the money, find the truth." And I think anyone who's ever watched cable news and paid attention to who the commercials are can kind of connect the dots and understand why the media twists things.
Mm.
Because again, they don't want people to know that there's an alternative to to just taking pills that don't do anything. And really, no one even talks about what they do to your liver and your other organs while you're taking these pills, and then your doctor gives you more pills to counteract the side effect from the original prescription. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so I'm so grateful that there are people like you out there, Melody. And you're very, I mean, it's very inspiring to me. Again, as someone who also had my own health journey, not
Mhm.
quite as, extreme as being bedridden, but still just didn't give up, just kept pushing till I found the answers. Just kept asking questions and seeking other practitioners who would help me.
Right, right.
So, and just overall too, how do you feel like the future is for plant-based alternatives just in general? Mm.
I think it's getting better. But we have to act now and get these with reasonable guardrails. The reason we're having issues is there aren't any reasonable guardrails. You
Yeah.
get valerian at your local Walgreens, and that's a botanical root. And we've had valerian available for many, many, many years. You know, we, there are probably several reasons why the federal government hasn't wanted to reasonably regulate it. And hopefully, this process to get 7OH off the market will be successful. And I imagine it will be. And because there are other synthetics, other kratom related, I hate to even use that word, there are other synthetics like 7OH. One's, I think it's MSM15. That's another one that's coming down the pike, and that's worse than 7OH.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I believe that what they're doing, the federal government, is they want not just to pass a bill about 7OH, but to get all of the synthetics that could come down the road banned as well, so they don't have to keep doing this every so often.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's very confusing for the average person trying to figure out, what's going to help them and what they can use safely.
Mhm.
So, what do you recommend for anyone listening who's hearing this and they're curious about kratom? Like, where should they start? And I'm going to have them connect with you on LinkedIn, of course. I think that's a good place for them to start. But
Um, yeah, they should start with the science and probably any pain groups that there are in. People are talking about it.
okay.
So a pain patient not in a pain group on Facebook, that would be highly unlikely. And they're talking about it. And so if you're in a pain group of thousands, you probably get the pro and the con, what people like and don't like. It's not for everybody, but it is for some people like me, because there are 26,000, I'm sorry, thousand, no, 26 million daily freedom consumers in the United States. And so I mean,
26 million. Wow, that's a lot.
yep, and I heard it at the conference. I've heard it a few times before that, and it was confirmed at the symposium last week. Um, it the That's another thing. The difference has made in my life is this: I almost missed my connecting flight. I had to run 15 minutes through the airport with my stuff to catch my flight. There is no way I would have been able to do that without Kratom. Now, did it increase my pain level for a couple days later? Yes, but I knew that my pain was
Yeah.
going to go down. And so Kratom is helping a lot of people. And we just need to keep it legal with guardrails.
I mean, that's amazing to go from bedridden for 8 years to being able to run through an airport.
For
I mean, that's
Right, I was. I mean, I probably wasn't going that fast, but for me, yeah, it felt fast.
sure.
I was 61, it's a little bit harder as everybody gets older.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Melody, is there anything else you want our listeners to know before we end this interview? Any other thoughts, final thoughts? Or,
Just in general, if you're a pain patient, keep researching. If you're any type of a patient, keep researching. Doctors are becoming more open to the information that their patients bring in. I know my
yeah.
rheumatologist, he wanted to know all about kratom because I'm so excited to learn things from my patients. And if you decide to take it, please consult your doctor, but also go with the science. And all of my science on social media, anybody is welcome to. Most of it's from the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the NIH, and like that. So just make sure that when you go in and talk to your doctor, that you have information with you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, print it out and take it with you.
Mhm.
Um,
And a couple
because
I have been asked to talk to a couple of doctors, and just a advocate reached out. Will you talk to my doctor about this and just give them my perspective? And I told the doctor, please come visit my LinkedIn page. And I really don't know what happened beyond that, but doctors are becoming more and more open that there are other methods to help people.
that is really good to hear. And I'm excited that your doctor was so open minded. And that gives me hope that if people go to your LinkedIn page and they download the articles that you have there and share them with their doctor, that their doctor's going to be open minded enough to say, "Hey, what did your doctor say? Give it a whirl."
Yeah,
Give it a whirl.
give it a whirl. I'm like,
Yeah, I even like the hand motions there too. Well, I've always been the kind of person where I've always thought, hey, if it can't hurt and it might help, I'm going to try it. Like, what do I have to lose?
hmm and I had
So,
nothing. I was bedridden, and my life was passing before my eyes.
yeah, I cannot even imagine. So you had 3 children,
hmm
and yeah,
Yeah, having my youngest across the street with me, you know across the street from me because he didn't get a mom growing up, so now I get to be his mom now.
aw, that's awesome. That's amazing. And Melody, do you have a website or is there any other place where people can find you?
Just on social media, we're kind of
Okay.
working on that.
Okay.
Just on social media, and you'll find places that I can direct people to, and they can reach out to me with a direct message on LinkedIn or direct message on Facebook.
Excellent. Because I'm sure people are going to have questions. So that's good. They can just direct message you on those two platforms. I'm going to put everything in the show description so people can find you easily. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to join me because I learned something new and I really love alternatives, natural alternatives for healing. That's one of the topics that, that I promote on the show often. So
I don't know if you can see
thank you.
that granddaughter in the background.
Yeah. Ah, I
That was
can see that.
a pad this summer. So yeah, bedridden to being with my granddaughter at splash pads and swimming with her and stuff like that.
And so you prove that it's never too late to take your life
Oh,
back and you can.
don't give up. If you're a pain patient, don't give up.
Absolutely. Well, Melanie, thank you so much for joining me. I am, like I said, I'm excited to see where this goes and stay in touch with me as things develop because I'd love to bring you back as, things progress legislatively or in
Yeah,
other ways to give people updates.
thank you again.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz. I just want to tell you how amazing and easy it was to work with Daria on my book. You see, I've had a book for a while, been sitting on my desk, sitting on my computer. Maybe you might be able to relate to that. And I didn't know what to do, how to take it to the next step, how to make it look polished and edited and easy and useful for my readers. Met with Daria. We had some great conversations. She learned my voice, my goal, my style, and she was able to edit and give me feedback on how to make my message clearer, more focused, polished, and it worked. I have a book. In fact, I have a book and a workbook that she's edited for me and guided me along the pathway. So if you're maybe a little bit like me, that you have a book or you have an idea and you haven't known where to take it, how to take it to the next stage, reach out to Daria. She's a game changer and she's really easy to work with and takes great pride in her work as well. So join me in the published author arena. Reach out to Daria. I'm Dr. Liz.